Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Joshua Berka. This is Wellness Wednesday, and I am the consultant for North America, medical consultant for North America, and this is remembering your optimal health with BEMER therapy. What do I mean by remembering your optimal health? When we're experiencing optimal health, we have ourselves in a flow state. We are expressing ourselves at the highest level of not just mental, but also physical, emotional, and even spiritual capacity. For those of you who are new to Medical Monday, Wellness Wednesday, on Wellness Wednesday, I'll be just reviewing BEMER for a little bit, maybe for 10, 15 minutes or so. And we'll be talking about later with a very, very special guest who's been with BEMER for quite a while about how to optimize your health, and not just optimize your health, but remember that optimization with a very special twist here by supporting our emotional intelligence. Before we do get into this, though, I do want to go over the disclaimers. None of the statements that are being made today have been prevented by the Food and Drug Administration. They're not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any diseases. Furthermore, none of the statements should be construed as dispensing medical advice or making claims regarding the cure of diseases, nor is it being implied that BEMER products prevent or cure any disease state. An individual should always consult with a licensed healthcare provider or a healthcare professional before starting any health protocol like BEMER or using any other medical device if you're under and or receiving pre-existing care for a medical condition. BEMER products are in no way a substitute for medical care. And finally, BEMER products are FDA Class 2 cleared medical devices and are registered and licensed by Health Canada as Class 2 medical devices. In the United States, the intended uses of BEMER are to temporarily increase blood circulation in muscles and to stimulate those muscles in order to improve and facilitate muscular performance. When we're looking at this aspect of Health Canada, because BEMER is a global medical device, we're looking at stimulating blood flow in the smallest vessels in the body. That's the microcirculation, and supporting clinical indications for conditions for usage, as you can see here. How does all this work? Well, it starts with BEMER's fundamental waveform, and it's more about the signal that are these active ingredients of how BEMER supports this contraction and relaxation, or rather the tone of the resistance vessels, which are the pre-existing, or rather pre-capillary arterioles of the microcirculation. There's no other medical device that has delivered or can deliver pulsed electromagnetic field uh, therapy or fields of energy in this way that target the circulation like BEMER therapy. And when we look at targeting the microcirculation, it's kind of a big deal. I mean, these vessels, over 3/4 of your body, are the microvessels. And as it relates to the heart itself, it's even more than that. We're all taught that the heart's pumping all the blood through the body. Kind of true, but not. This couldn't possibly be. When you start looking at the vasculature of the heart, you can see those vessels on the left side, these are greater than 500 microns through an angiogram. And these vessels on the right side, same heart, are illuminated through, this is plasticized, this is a plasticized heart. You can see not just the vessels that are greater than 500 microns, but those that are less than 500 microns as well. So that's a lot of vessels, and a lot of time, all diseases, not just heart attacks and things of that nature, aren't just starting in that organ. They're actually starting with the inability to functionally deliver oxygen and nutrients and remove metabolic wastes via these microvessels. The vascular networks, it's kind of a complex thing, but fairly simple. You have information. I say information, that means oxygen, nutrients delivering to the target tissues, and metabolic waste products, carbon dioxide being removed. How's this work? Let's get in a little deeper, because you have these muscles that are within and around these resistance vessels. Why are they called resistance vessels? Well, they resist the pumping of the heart. I mean, we've got a gallon and a half of blood in our body. That blood has to move through our body 24/7, and it has to be shunted and directed where it needs to be. When the muscles around and within these vessels are relaxed, there's less resistance. There's more perfusion. When they're contracted, there's more resistance and decreased perfusion. But I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's not how much your vessels can vasodilate or even how much they can contract. It's the functional tone that they keep to allow blood flow to move through them in a way that makes that blood available where it needs to go, where it needs to be for metabolic processes, for action, for performance, to support recovery. And it's not just the muscles that are doing it. 20 years ago, that seemed to be the story. But it turns out that there is a compensatory mechanism that works in concert with the nervous system, these alpha beta receptors that are contracting and relaxing the muscles, called endothelial cells. And these endothelial cells, um, these produce something called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator. You may have heard of NO as it relates to Cialis or Viagra and, well, doing what it does. But it wasn't discovered in that way initially for those effects. When we start looking at this aspect of what these vessels are doing, they're not just pipes, they're not just tubes, they're actually moving, they're oscillating. And this functional oscillatory movement is dubbed or named spontaneous vasomotion. We're looking at this spontaneous vasomotion here in real time, and I want you to pay attention to these autorhythmical diameter changes. So the luminal changes. Here you are looking at arterial and blood flowing through those. I want you to pay special attention, not just to how the blood is moving, but the tone of the vessels, the luminal diameter of these vessels. You can see here the blood is moving, and about every 10 or 15 seconds or so, every 20 seconds, you'll get these movements or oscillatory movements that then will either change the velocity of blood or even change the full dynamics of how that blood is flowing, like you can see right here. These vasomotor rhythms, these flow moving states are incredibly important. That was vasomotor rhythms. You also have how blood flows and where it goes, which is called flow motion. This blood is moving in a cadence, it's moving in a rhythm that allows for dropping off oxygen and nutrients and removing waste products, metabolic waste products like carbon dioxide, as well as acids and things that the body no longer needs at a cellular level. And both vasomotion and flow motion are incredibly important. How simple is BEMER to use? Lie down, sit down, press the button, and relax. Allow these fields to not just charge up our body, but to do what they do best, which is to trigger or elicit these functional movements of the musculature within the smallest vessels of the body. And let's zoom in a little bit on this as well, because when we zoom in and start looking at the effects of BEMER, BEMER is having an effect not just on the full body, on the vessels themselves, excuse me, but also on the blood itself and how it's moving through the body. So whether we're looking at using BEMER for general health to support autoregulation, if you're a sports person, especially in rehabilitation, for treatment of injury, prevention of injury, faster regeneration, or my favorite is prophylaxis and prevention to prevent injury, to support that self-regulatory process, what we call autoregulation. And when we're looking at healthy circulation, it's pretty easy to understand the importance of flow. And it's not just about our body, it's not just about the blood. Flow is also about remembering the state of who we are, how we interact, how we interrelate in this world. And it's not just remembering ourselves as who we are as people, but our feelings, our emotions, what we're charged up to do. Emotions, these are instinctive states of mind derived from circumstances, from moods or relationships within oneself or another. You can have an emotion without an action, but you generally can't have an action without something behind it, some emotion behind it. And I'm asking you today a little bit to start looking at what we're passionate about, or remembering what we're passionate about, because it's those passions inside of us that put us in these states of flow, that put us in these states of remembering our optimal health. And it's not just about mind or body. Candace Pert wrote a book. It was called Your Body is Your Subconscious Mind. Before that, she wrote a book that was called Molecules of Emotion. And one quote you can see here is, at any one point, the body is in the mind and the mind is in the body. So it's this idea of the mind plus the heart. So our logic, our intellect, our heart, our intuition, which equals this aspect of our gut, how we move and groove through this world in a functional way, responding to our environment versus reacting. I bring this quote up by Lao Tzu, philosopher, poet, so many things, a great man, a very wise man. He says, watch your words, or rather, watch your thoughts. They become your words. Watch your words. They become your actions. Watch your habits. They become your character. And watch your character. It becomes your destiny. How we think, act, do is what we're known for. It's what we're about. And when we're using BEMER therapy, of course, we're getting better circulation, we're having better health, ideally enjoying a better life. But when we start looking at how we can remember this optimal health that we already have within us, not remembering the past, sure, remembering how healthy we could be, but remembering the future and supporting that manifestation of that future. To get into this a little more with me and take a deep dive is a woman by the name of Stacy De Vore. I don't have her speaker notes in front of me, but I can share this and I'll ask her because I did lose some of my notes today through the screen. But I'll say this, I've known Stacy for many, many years. And she started out many years ago as a hypnotherapist. She is a life coach. She has trudged through, not just through reading, but exploring what makes her tick, as well as what makes other people tick, and how we position ourselves in life to support our optimal expression of not just our genes, but who we are designed and who are meant to be. So please do welcome, and she's got a new book I want to tell you right here, Emotional Intelligence. We'll be talking a little bit about this. Stacy De Vore. Let me stop the share there. And Stacy, please come on.
That is that. Yeah, there we go. Hey,
Yes,
how you
you
doing,
are.
Dr. Berka?
Wonderful to have you there, and glad I could get through that first place. Sorry, I didn't do the full biography. I didn't have the notes, but let's start a little bit about this, Stacy. So many people have known you for BEMER for so many years, but those people who are listening who don't know you, please do kind of introduce yourself. How long have you been in BEMER, and how'd you get involved with BEMER?
Yeah, thank you for that, and thanks for having me on this evening. This is when Dr. Berka asked me to be a part of this program this evening. He said, "Wow, you're really pushing me outside my comfort zone. I'm really good in the front of the room with hundreds of people, but the one-on-one is something outside my comfort zone." So, I am a product of my own teaching this evening. So, we became involved with BEMER back in 2015, and I really fought becoming involved with BEMER. My husband, Dr. Dennis De Vore, many of you know him. He's a brilliant fellow. And he wanted the BEMER really badly, but I did not, because he had been involved in holistic medicine for many, many years, and he invested in many, many products along the way that cost many, many dollars. And they would have some effect, but not a lasting effect. And so therefore, I didn't want to spend our money again on something else. But I decided that, we lived our life pretty harmoniously. As married couples, you always have your marital moments, but for the most part, our life has been pretty harmonious. And I believe that you need to be a vibrational match in what you do. And I knew one thing: if I did not become a vibrational match to this passion that Dennis was going to pursue, that I was going to be on the singles market. And at that time, I was 61, and I said that didn't seem like a good idea to me. So I had to figure out how to do this. So I did become a vibrational match to it, and we did get the BEMER. And I, not being myself, and not even a Snickers bar could bring me back at that moment in time, found myself on the BEMER. And 3 weeks later, my energy came back, and then I found out that I was lost, and I started to come back. So that was really exciting. And then all the things that were bothersome physically started to dissipate through the period of time, over a period of time, using the BEMER. And I will tell you this, that, there were so many testimonials at that point in time that, boy, this person got on the BEMER and they had a experience, and they were jumping buildings in a single bound, and after one session, and I felt like chopped liver because it took me a while. But it's not how long it takes for you to get there, it's that you do get there. Kind of like becoming emotionally intelligent.
I really, really like that. And you mentioned something just in your introduction, talking about this idea of feeling lost or being lost, or the sensation of not knowing the direction. I want to talk about this because that's why a lot of people come to you initially, or come to me as a healthcare provider. They've lost their way. This topic today is about remembering our optimal health. And in many ways, that's our role, to be a facilitator and help people remember. Talk a little bit about this act of remembrance and how we have to remember this innate beauty that's within us and this intelligence that's within us so we can express that throughout our life.
Yeah, that is so important. And it's so important to me. And it's something that I work on every day of my life because I still am in the physical body. And so long as we're in the physical body, we're always going to be experiencing contrast. So we know the things that we should do, but our thoughts get in the way. And everything begins with a thought. And you spoke about it in part of your presentation, Dr. Berka. You know, our thoughts are a culmination of our beliefs, our experiences, our habits, and even what we observe in other people that we take on their stuff. And this creates our emotions. So, you know, we've got this emotional battle going on within ourselves. And one of the things that really attracted me to my work is that I saw that there were so many people who had the same opportunities in life, and they would come forth and they would try it, but they would have so many different results. I'm like, why is that? This is so heartbreaking for me. And it's one of the things that made me really pursue the emotional intelligence, to tell you the truth. And so, you know, in my quest, I come to realize that foremost, we've got to understand who we are. We have to remember who we are. We are source incarnate in the physical body. And if you will, we are fractals of source. Now, we were all raised in a particular, most of us were raised in a particular religion. I was raised in the Catholic Church. So putting it into those terms, you know, we were made in the image and likeness of God. And so we forget how God we are. We are that image, and we have that capability that lives within us, but we forgot because we've taken on the beliefs of other people, and we've taken on the fears, and it just, but when you start to say to yourself, wait a minute, I'm a fractal of all that is, much like the BEMER is a fractal.
Really?
So yeah, so you know, the fact is, the matter that, you know, just tell them for just a second, since we're on the fractal, just kind of let's take this to the BEMER, and then I'm going to take it past what you said. So the BEMER signal is a fractal of the sinusoidal wave, correct?
Really?
It's a part of a whole.
Yes.
Okay, it's many parts of a whole, if you will. And so, you know, when you take that into consideration, the fact is that we are just like that. So if that helps people to understand, we're a part of a whole, but we disconnect. We disconnect through our thinking. And the way to get into the awareness state is the awareness state is the first step towards wellness, whether it's physical wellness, whether it's emotional wellness. If you don't know what's going on, you can't fix it, right? So,
Sure.
yeah. So, you know, you have to, and you know, Candace Pert talking about the subconscious mind. We actually have about 60,000 thoughts a day running through our mind. Most of them are unconscious, and 90% of them are repetitive. And, you know, that was something that was brought to light through Fred Luskin from Stanford University. You can look it up on the internet. I'm not making this stuff up. The problem is we live in yesterday, and we forget the power that we have within us today. So we play the victim, and we don't even realize we're playing the victim. I mean, we can see it in other people, but to see it in ourselves is a totally different thing. So, you know, we've got to realize that these things in life that are happening, they're not happening to us, they're happening for us. What can we learn from these experiences? And those of you that did get my book, you saw in chapter 3 about a Wahe Guru moment, and that's the wow God moment. All right, wow God moments. I was actually made aware of that by listening to a TED Talk. It's a phrase used in Kundalini yoga. Wow God, Wahe Guru. And I've had a few of those in my life, and I'm sure we've all had them in your life. But the fact of the matter is, it can come in as a result of physical well-being. So what they've come to realize, this is actual research, and research indicates that somebody who has low emotional intelligence, and is one of the reasons, guys, that you really got to, I don't care if you read my book or you just go and you start to do research on your own, it's okay. For me, I'm just the messenger. Okay. But people with low emotional intelligence actually struggle with stress management, leads to chronic illness, and the immune function is not functioning properly. People with low emotional intelligence have inflammation. They have higher levels of inflammation. We're all concerned about inflammation in our body, but we don't realize that when we're operating at a low intelligence scale, that we are the cause of our own problem. And, we have things like heart disease and diabetes, and even some cancers have been linked to people with low emotional intelligence. And of course, we always think about the mental factor, and that's true. People with low emotional intelligence are noted to experience more anxiety and more depression and more burnout than those, as well as headaches and digestive issues. And how many people are walking around the world with digestive issues?
Yeah, they're not self-regulating, right?
Exactly. So, then that leads to obesity and diabetes and other lifestyle illnesses that hit us, where the emotional intelligence person can recognize what's going on. They recognize the body and the mind and the spirit. They recognize that their thoughts are things, and they're not giving their attention to those thoughts. They're not aware of what's going on. The emotional intelligent person recognizes that, and they are able to express their emotions rather than to suppress the emotions and just figure, oh, it'll work out. It doesn't work out. You have to be aware of what your emotions are and then deal with them in an intelligent way. It's also cardiovascular disease is linked to people with low emotional intelligence. Heart attacks and strokes, high blood pressure, things of that nature can be actually turned around by changing our thoughts. And of course, when it comes to lifestyle choices, well, hey, you know what? Poor lifestyle choices like smoking and excessive drinking and emotional eating and lack of exercise, that's not good for us. And that is actually linked back to the low emotional intelligence factor. So with that, I mean, it's a pretty bleak picture, okay? But it also should be motivating, right? I mean, let's be real. I every day feel it's really important to be real with myself. And, sometimes I'm a little bit too real, but I don't think as far as the public is concerned, but, I take this seriously because you know what? I hit 70 this year, and and my intention is to get to be a healthy, vibrant, illuminated 100-year-old person, at least centenarian. Okay, they're out there, and why not me? That's the way I look at it. So, but the thing is creating awareness. You have to be aware. So we talked about this, Dr. Berka, where I kind of cut my teeth. I am passionate about self-development, and I am my best client. No, hands down.
You've done the work. You've been doing the work since I've met you. That's why, I appreciate you in so many ways. You're not just somebody who reads about it and tells people. You walk the talk, you do it, and you cut in your teeth. You're in it, and you're into that daily practice, which is such a big part of maintaining emotional intelligence. We don't have to cultivate it. We have to remember it and then allow it to manifest really through our intrinsic motivation to do things, and then being empathetic in social environments. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. And empathetic towards ourselves too, self-compassion.
Yes.
We, as I said to you, when we were talking about this, I said, we wear a badge of honor that we are not judgmental of people, but we don't even realize how much we are judging ourselves. And that leads to a lot of problems for ourselves. So years ago, back in the 90s is when I really started to become a student of self-development. And back in the 90s, I was introduced to Abraham Hicks. And I got all of their books, and there was a CD of the Month Club back when there were CDs. And I belonged to the CD of the Month Club. And before BEMER, I spent 10 years not being able to sleep. But
Mm.
I also knew from the teachings of Abraham Hicks that we create our own reality by the thoughts that we think. This is way before I knew anything about emotional intelligence. I was not raised in an emotional intelligent home, trust me. And I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, the fact is that they taught me that. They taught me that. And so, one of the things, very basic, that anybody can do to start to become aware of their thoughts and if they're serving them or not serving them is the emotional guidance scale, which actually is your gut. Your gut. How did that thought that you just thought make you feel? Was it empowering? That's a good one. Go with it. But if it's not empowering, then you need to pivot. All right, you need to pivot. And and how did what you did make you feel? That reaction, most of us go through life reacting rather than actually thinking first and then acting. My grandmother always told me, look before you leap. I think she was probably telling me something. I didn't get it till I was like nearly 70 years old, that and mind your own business. And that one really has a lot of wisdom behind it too. I thought it was just because I was tattletaling on my brothers and sisters. But anyway, there was wisdom. So, but anyway, how does it make you feel in your gut? This is a simple, simple test. And am I behaving emotionally intelligent or not? And then, you got to live your life on purpose. So, what is it? How do you think? And who do you want to be? We spend so much time. We'll plan vacation. We'll plan all kinds of fun things in life, but we don't really think about what it is that we want for ourselves. So, who is it that you want to be? We might look at people and say, "Oh, they're really, really great. I think that guy's awesome." Well, you're awesome too. How do you want to be? We've all got genius inside of us. We're a fractal. We're a fractal. Anyway, so what I like to do, and I say this in my book, is I create a list of intentions. So for you that are on the phone today, I encourage you, and I have them in my phone. And I have a timer set on my phone. And do I read them every time the timer goes off? No. But you know what? The fact that I see that, I read them more frequently than I ever would. It's not about being perfect. It's just about making progress. So making intentions, create a list of intentions of that person that you intend to be. And then, one of my very simple intentions that I start every day with, I got a whole list of them and I won't bore you with them. But I learned this from Esther Hicks. It is my dominant intent to have a joyful life experience and to see the beauty in all things, see what I want to see in those things around me, which is beauty. It's grace, it's wonderness, it's just fantastic. And I've added to find humor, even when things don't go according to Hoyle. And if you can do that, then you start being so judgmental about yourself. And things won't always go according to Hoyle. We're in the physical experience. So that's how I sort of got myself keyed up, if you will. And, for the waheguru moments that happened in life before I even knew really as much as I know about emotional intelligence right now.
Love that. When you talk in the book, and there's been multiple, I've read through it, multiple references to this ripple effect, both in a negative cascade and in a positive cascade. Share a little bit about what you mean by the ripple effect.
Yeah, nothing is constant in life. Everything is moving. Everything is energy. Everything's vibration. Everything's moving. And so when you do something, some people might talk about cause and effect, and I'm not scientific. So, I just know one thing, that whatever you do affects everybody. We are all one. We are all connected. We're all fractals, okay? And thoughts are things, and they exist out there. And then there's the law of attraction, really getting off the wagon here a little bit. But
no, you're right. You're right on track because here's a question. What do you do for those people that keep creating the same story and attracting the same outcomes?
Yeah. And if you're a part of that, then you're just feeding their nonsense. Okay. And
Well,
I take our responsibility as human beings seriously. You don't have to be a Dr. Berka or a Stacy De Vore or have any degrees or have any education or anything that you can hang your hat on except for being yourself. Our responsibility is to enhance the lives of others.
yeah.
And in doing so, we must be mindful of what it is that we are doing, because what we do affects everybody. It's a two-edged sword. Okay. It's the having and the having not of it. And so it's like when people, put together an affirmation or the gratitude. The word gratitude, I have it kind of does this in my gut. And I'll tell you why. Because again, going back to Esther Hicks, all right. Um, the word gratitude comes through, you've come through something, and now I'm grateful. I love the word appreciation. It's just pure positive energy. It's like looking at a flower. It's just the pure beauty of that flower. There was nothing in this world that was anything before you looked at the flower. So, I don't use the word gratitude. I say thank you. I'm very appreciative, but I don't use the word gratitude because that little bit of vibration that goes back to that. Well, I went through that, and here I'm still standing. The problem is you still got that I went through that in your mind, and yeah, I'm still standing is the end of it, but it's not. You just brought in two different vibrations. So the ripple effect is all about the vibration that you're sending out into the world, just like the BEMER sends vibrations into the body.
Right. And here we are affecting these microvessels, affecting the movement of the blood, which ultimately, through a holistic perspective, through a holographic expression, literally changes thought fields and has an effect with thought fields. So our thought fields are not just influencing our brain waves, neuroplasticity, but literally our flow state. Are we
Yes.
in that flow of life or not? People talk about love all the time. I love you. I love you. Love's a funny emotion. How does someone fall in and fall out of it? It's a funny thing to me to think of. But we're either in that love or not. And it comes down to that self-awareness of that appreciation of that gift within us. And unfortunately, we forget that so many times as we get older.
We do, because we go through stuff. There's bumper stickers that talk about that. And that's not anything I would put on my car because I don't want to put my vibration there.
Right.
Besides, I don't like bumper stickers on cars. But anyway, the fact is, you said a really important word. You said love.
Yeah.
And love is an emotion. However, when I get so excited about this, here's another thing that I work on every day. And again, it's something that innately we have, but we forget about it because we are that fractal. And that is unconditional love. And practicing, if we look at people and we look at ourselves even through the eyes, like Melissa Manchester years ago, the song, Through the Eyes of Love. If we look at every person that's in front of us, and instead of looking at the things that trigger us, okay, or the things about us that we don't like, we look at it through unconditional love and through the eyes of source. That's a whole different love. It's something that sometimes I actually do. Sometimes, but I'm in the physical body, so I'm not here preaching about do as I say. I am saying do as I say, just don't do as I do all the time, but I try.
We're programmed many ways to do these things, maybe not just in this life, but even through through our past or our genetics, our genomic translations. This aspect of self-love, I mean, you bring it up since we're talking about love and blood flow and heart. I mean, all these things go together. The awareness of self-love and pulling away from self-judgment is the only possible way that an individual can express that outwardly. And so like so many people can act in that way, but they're not expressing that from I think you use the word not in a when somebody's being true, when somebody's being authentic, that aspect where you don't think about it, it's actually expressing through an individual. That is something, again, I look at this beautiful love in these little children growing up, but as we get older, we get jaded, we get programmed into myth information, beliefs that we've bought into per se. Um, do you utilize BEMER when you're working with individuals? I know you've done hypnosis for a while, so if you use voice programming in that way, talk a little bit about how you mix those together over the years, because not too many people have your background and have been involved with BEMER together like that.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And again, I do what I do, what I do. So
Right.
my morning routine is I get up out of bed,
Okay.
hit the restroom, come back, take the glass of water, hop back into bed, turn on my BEMER, and I meditate. And that's what that if you're going to calm the body and you're going to calm the mind, that is the best recipe right there. Just the best recipe. Yeah, yeah. It's like the icing on the cake. I think that every practitioner should use the BEMER in their practice. They don't have to talk about what it is. It's just who goes in and says, "Hey, what is that? Hey, what is that?" It's just the experience. And if it weren't, again, if it weren't for the BEMER, Dennis used to say to me, "You are wound tighter than a 10-day clock, and if you don't learn how to relax, you're going to be dead." And I said, "Well, I guess I'm going to be dead then, because I never could really learn to relax, and
Sure.
because of the physicality." So when the BEMER comes into your life and the BEMER goes about sending that blood flow to the cells, and the body becomes harmonious, then it's like the horse. The horse is always in that fight and flight mode. Guess what? We as human beings live the same way. We wait for the other shoe to drop. The what ifs, we don't live in the present moment. And that's the thing that holds us back from having a wonderful life, because we're focusing on the things that happened in the past. And yeah, there's been some good things, and you should focus on the good things of the past. But most of the time, we're not focusing on the good things in the past. As a matter of fact, I have to tell you this: I'm creating a. I found out that adult coloring books are very popular. So I'm thinking, hey, you know what? If people are going to live in the past, let's give them something happy to think about. So I'm creating a 1960s a coloring book for adults that want to go back and have happy thoughts.
I love it. I mean, those are early times that I can remember. I have a 3.5-year-old that's coloring right now, and it's a time where we can just go through the daily practice, back to daily routines of allowing ourselves to just be free and allow that subconscious to emerge. We oh gosh, we shove down our subconscious, and it only emerges when we're sleeping. Half the time we don't even remember our dreams, and we're becoming this idea of what people think we should be rather than what we're destined to literally emerge or accomplish.
Yeah, yeah. And the point, I say this in my book, the point of power is in the present moment. And I should have given him credit for it. He's passed away, but Ram Dass.
Ramdas.
There was a book out when the 60s, is Be Here Now, way ahead of its time. But if we could be, so the past, we can't even turn back the clock, not even a second. So we ruminate about how, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. And I feel so bad for this, or boy, I'm so mad. And we get all into that vibration. And then there's looking to the future of the what is. Yeah, but what if this happens? And what if that happens? And the fear. And you've got little kids. I just had a conversation. I hired a narrator yesterday for narrating the audiobook for emotional intelligence breakthroughs. And she is a single mom. Thank you. Isn't that cool cover? I'll tell you what, I love
Love
that
it.
cover.
Absolutely love it. And great book. And it's fundamental. This is why I like, go ahead and finish your story. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and she was saying about how she's a single mom by choice. I don't know if she adopted or was in vitro or whatever. And we were talking about raising the child with only one adult in the household. And yes, there's positives, and yes, there's negatives. And then she was talking about how she was raising, how she was raised, and how the fear, of preparing your children for the what ifs of the world. And you know what? The problem is we're instilling fear in our children from the time that they're born. And so, I got to thinking about that as she was talking. And we do that habitually as adults. We're always afraid of the future, but in the present moment, it's so pure. Dennis taught me when I first met him over 40 years ago. He said, Either you control your thoughts or somebody's going to control them for you, and the choice is yours. You control your present moment and just experience the newness and the joy of the present moment and live in that moment. And you will create a life that you won't have to worry about the other shoe dropping, because it's not even a part of your thought process. Will the other shoe drop sometimes? Yeah, but here's another thing I've got in my intentions that I've got listed. I will recognize fears for the lies that they are, and I will pivot from those. And if I happen to fall out of the plane without my parachute, I will figure out how to have a soft landing. So, I mean, this is my crazy mind, the way that I think, but these things cause you to be strong. It becomes a part of you. It's like the muscle memory of the athlete. They know exactly what to do if that ball's coming at them too fast or whatever. I mean, it's natural. And so in our life, the more we plant our feet in the ground with the things, the stronger we build ourselves, the more resilient we are for the things that come down the path. So yeah, stuff happens, but you think about it differently. You don't play the victim. You say, hey, you know what? This isn't fun, but things have always worked out for me. That's another one of my things. As I look back through my life, I came to the point where I realized that there were some really terrible things that happened in my life growing up, but things always worked out for me. And they always work out for every single person here without a shadow of a doubt. And so, you walk around with that knowledge, and when stuff happens, you've got the knowing that things are going to work out for you. Everything is temporary, and you behave differently. You think differently, and you say, what could I learn from this? When my daughter came, my daughter, 5 years ago, we had the unfortunate situation of she was always skittish in our lives and mostly out of our life, but as timing would have it, perfect timing, she came into our lives in a state of paranoid schizophrenia. I wasn't prepared for that. Dennis wasn't prepared for that. We had no idea what that was all about. In the 60s, we used to have a saying, oh, you skits me out. I don't use that expression anymore, I'll tell you that. But what could I learn from this situation? It taught me to be, and I thought I was pretty darn good at being empathetic and loving, but these situations cause you to open your heart more. They cause you to be more empathetic. It causes you to walk in the other shoes of the individual more. It causes you to not react, because that could cause a whole ripple that you just don't want to deal with. And this is life anyway. When you think about it, this just happens to be my life, but it could be anybody's life, that ripple effect. So you stop and you think before you I'm sorry, I just put something up on the screen. There we go. You stop and you think before you act, before you say. You put that other person before you. Not that if you can't give what you don't got. I'm not saying put everybody first and you second. Not at all. You should love yourself first, but you can't love anybody with what you don't have. Yes. So taking the time to develop yourself and to develop all of these wonderful qualities of an emotionally intelligent individual and more. That's just touching the surface, in my opinion,
You're right. And you've touched so much on this aspect of resiliency. I mean, you've only brought up the word once, but everything you're talking about is not getting ready, but staying ready. Having that confidence that if I have a rain jacket on and an umbrella and it's raining, I'm walking out, I'm not getting wet. And I have zero care about it because I know it's not. I've done it before. And once we can rebuild that aspect, we can anticipate the outcomes. Like you said, these outcomes, whether they're positive or not, but truly everything should have an outcome that we're at peace with.
That's right.
We keep ruminating and these things are already past, but in our head, we're holding on to them. I truly believe we can't move forward, not in this life or the next, until we've made peace with every single moment in this plane, in this dimension.
Yeah, life is about expansion. Okay. Where you are is absolutely perfectly fine. But you know what? It's not where you're going to be 10 years from now, 1 year from now.
Hopefully
Okay.
not.
Because, yeah, you know, I'm more from now. But the fact is we're constantly expanding. And that's the beautiful thing about the individual. But you know what? I also know. So I was a little girl and I was a little thing as a little girl. It's before, you were young and cute when you were little and you go over menopause and you get a little bigger. But anyway, remember Mary Poppins?
Sure.
So yeah, so I had the Mary Poppins moments in the rain. So sometimes we also have those. So the hurricane was coming, which was very uncommon in the Pennsylvania area, in Philadelphia. But a hurricane was coming, so they let us out of school early. And I got off the bus and I opened up the umbrella and I flew. And then the umbrella flipped upside down and then I was down and I was saturated. And you know what? That happens in life too. You know, I might go out and I might not get wet, but I might get poured upon. And so, and what do you do when you're poured upon? The choice is yours. And if you are building the blocks with your intention statements that come natural to you after a while, they just become natural to you, and you live your life in appreciation and in the flow most of the time, and you are practicing unconditional love, and we're going to talk about that word meditation.
Yeah.
That's a tool for resilience, much like that BEMER. Every day won't go through a day without meditation. uh, Today I had an interesting experience. So again, I work on myself all the time, try to get rid of all those limiting beliefs, all the stupid stuff that does not serve me well. And recently, I've had some interesting dreams, and I did not used to dream. And recently, I've been like just dreaming all the time. But I've got a really active mind, and spirit can't always talk to me during the day because I'm too busy talking to myself, or going around doing stuff. It can't get my attention. So in your dreams, so I had this dream, and it really upset me. And it's a recurring dream, and it's a stupid dream, but it's a recurring dream. And I woke up and I said to myself, self, I don't know why. There's something in me that I got to dig deep and find out what it is that's making me do this. There's something that they're letting me know. Hey, you still got that. You think you're good? Well, listen, take a look at this, But I knew one thing. When we get out of bed in the morning, we get a choice of being happy or not being happy. I choose happiness. And I use meditation for those days when I wake up and I'm totally out of the vortex. I'm totally out of the flow. Okay. I will not start my day without meditation. So this morning, and I usually bring out the big guns then. In 2020, when did COVID hit? 2000?
Dude, which one?
Well, the first one.
Yeah. So 2020, so it was the original, we'll just say SARS-CoV-2 to be specific.
Yeah. So I got hit with COVID really hard, and I was down for 6 weeks. But the wonderful BEMER family was so sweet. They were sending me all kinds of love and energy and musical, donations for healing. And 3 times I heard during that time about Dr. Joe Dispenza. And I said to Dennis, this is like, I've never heard of this guy, but it's hearing about it like 3 times in 1 week from our BEMER people, I think I need to check this out. And he says, oh, yeah, as a matter of fact, Allison, a friend of ours, sent me a book. I've got it upstairs. I didn't think you'd be interested. I'm like, well, thank you very much. So anyway, I got on some videos and I understood the work that he was doing. And he meditation, he's got 7-day, 10-day programs that people can go to. And one of these days I will, where they meditate for days and days and days on end. And people have amazing physical results because that they have aligned with who they are. Okay, to keep it simple. So I got into his meditations, and he's one of my favorite ones is tuning into new potentials. So when I need to bring out the big guns, I go for that one. It's a 45-minute meditation going into the quantum field, and what is it that you want, and all that kind of stuff. And I feel great afterwards. But this morning I didn't feel like doing that one. So I went into, I belong to Gaia, Gaia. I'm sure you've heard of it. Belong to Mind Valley too. I mean, I just can't get enough of enough, but anyway, there's always something somewhere that I can get from somebody. And so I went into meditation this morning, and there was just one on breath work, and I'm collaborating with Dennis, writing his book, Longevity Breakthroughs. And so I was just finishing up a chapter where we had mentioned breath work in the chapter. And so I came across this one in Gaia, and it was only a 5-minute meditation. 5 minutes. I thought, I'll do this, but what's it going to do? 5 minutes time of just doing dedicated breath work. I was a brand new woman. I got out of bed just the way I went to bed. And so those things, they're always going to be triggered in life. That's just what life is about. But it's what do you do with them? And so that's what I do to get through my triggered moments. Something so simple as a 5-minute breath work can make the difference in your day.
I mean, the breath resets your nervous system faster than any conscious thoughts or anything, or mantra, mudra, slow, smooth, deep, even breaths. I mean, it resets the vagus nerve, sets the brain into a receptive mode versus a defense mode. And so, yeah, breathing is one of the aspects. You talked about regulation techniques, the ripple effect, breathing, building a daily practice, and then also this art of reframing. Could you touch on this aspect of reframing a little bit?
Yeah, I sort of kind of did, but it's a matter of when things, like I'm not good at that.
Right.
People say I'm not good at that. Well, how about I'm not good at that yet? See the difference in the vibration when you say that? I mean, I can feel it when I say it. And instead of focusing on the negative, is how can I take that and turn it into something that I can live with? Now, you're not going to go from subterranean to the top of the mountain in a second, okay? That's called bipolar disorder, okay? I know about these things, not that I am. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, you're going to reach for the next best thought, whatever statement that you can take and you can turn it around. People in the BEMER business, we go out and we talk to people about the BEMER, and maybe somebody didn't decide to invest in one for their health. And so you got caught up in that vibration, and you start thinking how wrong everything is about you and what you did, when in fact a reframe could very easily be that person is just not ready yet.
Not ready yet. Yeah.
And so then you've got your pure positive energy and you can move forward. So it's a matter of just looking at things like a fly on the wall, observing it without emotion.
Well, I really like that as well. And there's a couple, I mean, as a clinician, as a therapist yourself as well, before we get into this trust relationship with our clients, our patients, we really have to start that with ourselves. And you also brought up in your book these aspects of being consistent, being transparent, being vulnerable, and also accountability, not just for others, but within ourselves. This might tie into the question that came up in our audience here about procrastination. Can you talk a little bit about that and its relationship to EQ?
Well, procrastination is not always a bad thing, first of all. And it's been demonized. But see, I believe in taking actions when you're a vibrational match to that action. So let's just say you've got a big job, like, I mean, I'm going to just be stupid, like cleaning the garage. It's a big job. I don't want to do it. And if you do it with that attitude, your day is miserable. However, what I do, and I do this with Dennis all the time, I'll say, hey, Dennis, you know what? When you feel inspired, would you do me a favor? And would you spend some time in that garage cleaning that up? And I'll be more than happy to help you. Wow, now the result is totally different. So that procrastination became something I wanted to do. So if you can take your I don't want to, find out why, just kind of dig deep and find out what it is that's keeping you from doing it. If it's a limiting belief, go to work and, just get limiting. The thing about limiting beliefs is when you get rid of them, you realize that these things are preventing you from having the wonderful life that you're entitled to have.
Yeah, almost so, imprisonment, like boundaries, like bars.
Yeah, and when you look at all this stuff, it's kind of fun. if you look at all this stuff as being a fun exercise rather than, a drudgery, just everything in life just gets, opens up and opportunities open up because you are open. You are open to the
Your
miracles
vessels
that
are
are
open
waiting.
too.
Yeah,
Stacey, this is
exactly.
what brought me into BEMER, this idea of being in this flow of opening our vessel. We can't be in this flow state unless we're doing the work like you're talking about. And so to talk about a double-edged sword, you have a product and a lifestyle that goes so well together. I tell people all the time, like wherever you are on your journey, that BEMER is going to support you in that state of remembrance, of flow state.
That's right.
And again, not just about the blood, but about our conscious thoughts, actions, and receptivity to ourselves as well as one another.
I would think that 9 years on the BEMER has really helped me tremendously, not just in my physical well-being, but also a perfect adjunct to my wellness of my spirit well-being. And I'm sure that there's nothing that we can say about the FDA with that one. But anyway, I do believe that it works on our body, mind, and spirit.
Sure. And I not just other people, but yourself, almost a decade I've known you. One of the most fun things for me is watching people emerge into themselves, remembering who they are, and that expression. It's not even that they're giddy or happy. It's noted in their what's the word, countenance, their very positioning of their being. And so it's been such a pleasure to watch you in this way, and Dennis and everyone you've helped to do the same.
Well, thank you for that. There is one thing that I think is really,
Go
I'm going to
ahead,
say
Stacey.
one thing and then I know we're back up, we're like a minute here, but a really important part of emotional intelligence is forgiveness. And
Mm.
sometimes it's a matter of forgiving ourselves as much as it is forgiving somebody else. And the one thing that I've learned about forgiveness is it's not about the other person. It's not about the other person. It's about you. Okay, by letting go of that nonsense that you're holding on to as you look at that individual and how they hurt you, you let go of that and you are free. That is their journey. Let them worry about their journey. You worry about your journey. Okay. And I think that was a big thing for me to actually understand. And if I could just do a Vulcan mind meld with people on that one aspect alone to let them feel what I know in my heart about that, it would be so amazing. And I would do it for free. They could line up, but I don't have that ability to do Vulcan mind melds. but but moving forward, just focus on awareness. Become aware. Just what is it that I'm thinking? How's my gut feeling? Start with the basics. How's my gut feeling? Not so much, then don't do it. Pivot. Okay, from that day to day, just day to day, moment to moment, day to day, and it builds. It just builds, and then be accepting of the fact that you're not perfect and you will never be perfect. Okay, not so long as you're on this earth, and allow yourself to feel your emotions without shame, without self judgment, and then align yourself. Ask yourself, what would the highest version of me believe right now? And choose a thought or an action that aligns with that truth, because that's truth.
In that moment of truth, I want to recognize my appreciation for you, and in that, I do feel gratitude. So thank you for coming on, Stacy De Vore. My name is Dr. Joshua Berka. It's been my pleasure to have another wonderful Wellness Wednesday with you, Stacy, as a guest. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Love to everybody.